What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm joined by Tyler, and we are back for part 2 of our Pirates of the Caribbean and Star Wars crossover, where we talk about both the community series that we've been doing. We've had one of Pirates of the Caribbean since really the movie came out, and before that, back in around February, March. And we had a Star Wars community series that just recently ended. But for this kind of end of the year thing, we decided let's bring them together. Let's have a conversation about both together. Last week, we talked about comparing the movies and saying, like, well, which one is actually better? Which franchise is actually better overall? In this video, in part 2 of our crossover, we're going to be talking about Rey and Finn and Henry and Carina. So the new characters introduced in the newest movies of both franchises, respectfully. Next week, we're going to have the final part of this crossover, which will be talking about the concepts of the movies. Which concept of the actual Star Wars and the actual Pirates of the Caribbean is actually better, and why do people actually go see these films? So our Pirates of the Caribbean community series airs every other week, Fridays at noon Eastern Standard Time, just so you know. So, like I said, in this one we're going to be talking about the newer characters introduced. So we're going to be comparing them to each other, and we're going to be talking about their strengths, their weaknesses, and ultimately, which are the better characters. Now, before we start, I do just want to say really quickly, we're not talking about performances. All of these actors and actresses actually do a really good job as their characters. So, you know, we may criticize some over the other, but just know we're not criticizing the acting. We're talking specifically the character, which is more on the arms of the director and the writer. So we're more or less criticizing them. So Tyler, we're going to start off with Carina and Rey. So go ahead.
I just want to say that for those of you who are saying that you can't compare these movies, you absolutely can compare anything when you break them down. And especially like we are right here, both movies have new generation characters. You can directly compare those characters because they're both new generation characters that will continue the movie franchises into the future. So having said that, Rey and Carina, we'll look at Carina first, and then we'll talk about Rey, and then we'll compare them a little bit too. So Carina, she, looking for her father, that was the main thing that she was doing in Dead Man Tell No Tales. Knowledgeable in astrology, which is the constellations like stars. She's knowledgeable in horology, time, not that kind of horology. She can survive on her own. Obviously, she doesn't have her father. Her mother died early on in her life, so she's been on her own for a long time. And she's made it. In this time period, you don't live very long in the first place, so she can clearly survive on her own. She's very self-confident. When she was about to get her head chopped off, she refused to let herself get her head chopped off without saying her last words. She made sure that she said her last words. So she doesn't fear death, really. Very confident in herself. And the last thing that we have here, and then we'll discuss her a little bit more in depth, she can't really defend herself in combat as far as we know. We didn't see anything to display, if she can do combat, but it seems like she's not one that knows anything about defending herself in any kind of combat.
So just to elaborate on those things, I mean, she kind of is built from the ground up as being a very knowledgeable and being a very self-confident person, right? So she knows a lot about basically everything, and we're going to talk about, well, like, why. It's okay if you're knowledgeable and you know how to do a bunch of stuff, but does the movie and do they explain why it's that way that they know that amount of stuff? And for Carina, they do a very good job at actually explaining how she knows so much. But she's very, very intelligent, right? She's been studying things really throughout her entire life. I believe she wanted to even go to school, but she can't because obviously people at that time period didn't respect women enough to allow them to, often called a witch and all that. But very, very intelligent, learned a lot through books and through reading and through studying. Again, kind of anti what women did at that time period. Knows a lot about the stars, really advances the plot completely. She's the reason why Pirates 5 gets to its ending. She knows about time, which to this point is kind of just there, but it could definitely be explored in future movies. She also does know quite a bit about the sea and about not necessarily mythology about it. She kind of doesn't believe in terms of ghosts or supernatural, but she does know a lot of stuff. And And what's more important is she's very self-confident in herself. She knows what she believes, and she believes it very strongly, and she doesn't really back down from her belief. Henry and her kind of had like that nice little thing when Henry wanted her to apologize to him that she didn't believe him, and she said that he should be apologizing to her. So she's very, she's witty, she's very clever, and she's very self-confident. She knows quite a bit of stuff. Like Tyler said, the only thing she's weak at is she's never fought. We haven't seen anything to indicate that she can fight. And maybe she can fight in the 6th movie, but as of right now, she's not a damsel in distress, but she is the kind that she wouldn't be able to get out of a sticky situation.
And now for Rey, who starred in The Force Awakens and also was in The Last Jedi. So Rey, similar to Carina, who was looking for her father, Rey, she's looking for her parents. She doesn't know who her parents are. She doesn't really remember anything from the past. So she's trying to figure out, who she is, who are her parents. That was her main thing in The Force Awakens and kind of The Last Jedi too. She's also naturally a good pilot. Now I'm going to let Alex say his comment about her being a good pilot because he has a good point.
Yeah, so I mean, it's good and it's all right to say she's a naturally good pilot. And we can compare that to Carina. Well, like, why does she know how to do all this kind of stuff? Why can Rey do mind control? And why is she so knowledgeable in the Force and piloting? Well, it's okay for Carina because we know from the movie that she's very knowledgeable, and we know that she reads, and we know that she studies. So it's very easy to connect the dots and say, well, she probably learned all that she knows through studying, through reading. With Rey, it's very different, and it goes to her weakness as a character. She's a flawed character. They never say she's a gifted pilot, but what we do see is when Rey flies a Millennium Falcon and she's talking to Finn, she has no idea how she did what she just did. She's like, I never did that before. It just kind of came to me. How is that possible? And they never... maybe you think, well, that's a Skywalker thing. Skywalkers are normally gifted pilots. Well, she's not a Skywalker. We learned that she's a nobody. So why is she good at anything that she does? In that way, it makes her just a very powerful character for the sake of her just being this all-around good character, but without giving any reason as to... They just kind of say, well, she just knows how to fly. How did she learn how to fly? Well, she just, stepped in the Millennium Falcon and could just fly it. Why does she know about the stars? Well, because she studied it her whole life. So that's the main difference, and I think that's a huge flaw in Rey's fundamental character.
She's naturally good at the Force. Kylo Ren's trying to get in her mind. Not only does she not allow him in her mind, she ends up in his mind. She gets in his. How? Really no explanation at all. Just happens. She just can. Rey, she tries to run from her destiny in The Force Awakens when she touches Luke's lightsaber. She can survive on her own, like Carina. She's been doing it for a while on Jakku. So there's a similarity there. And then again, she has no training, but can defeat those who do, such as Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens and also The Last Jedi, as well as Snoke's elite guards. Doesn't get any training from Luke. Learns one form that it seems like she learned, or she taught herself almost, and yet she can defeat these elite guards no problem almost. That doesn't make any sense. And again, kind of like Alex said, it's one thing to say, well, the reason that this character can do this is because we kind of already established that, it's implied almost. Like, how did Carina help Jack, Barbossa, all them find the Trident of Poseidon? Well, because she knows about astrology. We already know about this. She's knowledgeable in horology and all this stuff. So she knows the timing of the moon for the blood moon and this and that and the constellations and all this stuff. And so she's very knowledgeable in that field. So that gives reason as to how she can help them get to their destination. It's all kind of implied. Like, she's obviously studied it so long that she's basically an expert. For Rey, well, how can she get in someone who has training in the Force? How can she get in their mind when she's never even done it before? She doesn't have any training. Well, she just can. Just like Alex said, why is she such a good pilot? She's never flew before. Well, she just can. how come in The Last Jedi she's lived on a desert planet her entire life, and then yet she can swim? Well, she just can. And I'm not hating on Rey. I actually really like Rey. I do. Probably not more than Luke Skywalker from 4, 5, 6, but I'd say I like Rey way more than Anakin Skywalker. I mean, I could say that without even a doubt. I like Daisy Ridley's, the character that she has, that she gives us, that she plays. I think she does a really good job. I know some people don't think that she's that great of I actually think she does pretty good. She does really good, I think. So I actually like Rey. I don't like what they've done for like, well, here's why she can do this. Because they actually never say, well, here's why she can do this. Basically, their answer right now is, well, she can do all this stuff because her parents are nobody. Oh, okay. And not even that means anything, but the only reason that means something in Star Wars is because when you look at like Luke Skywalker and it's like, well, he never really flew before, so why is he so good at flying? Well, because he's the son of Anakin Skywalker, who was literally Anakin Skywalker, due to the Force nature in Anakin Skywalker, it made him a little bit better at basically everything, like on purpose.
And when 4 came out, even in that movie at that time, Obi-Wan, when he was telling Luke about his father, he said Anakin Skywalker was a very skilled pilot. So we did know that he was, like, that was established. They told us that. So now it makes sense.
Yeah, it was established that this is why Luke can do these things, which is exactly what George Lucas says when he was doing Episode 1, which I still don't think is a good movie, but the idea, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but the idea of, here's why this is why pod racing was in Episode 1. They wanted to show that Anakin Skywalker he was a good pilot at a young age, and then you take him from the pod racing, and then you insert him into the ship, and then he destroys the droid army like base, and it was supposed to mirror what Luke does in Episode 4. So it's like that's the reason behind here's why Luke can do it, because his father was skilled in this way. And then when you have Rey, who's a skilled pilot and can do all these kind of things, and then it's like, oh, well, maybe she's a Skywalker. So that gives you reason. That was why everybody thought, oh, she must be Luke's kid because she's a really good pilot and this and that, because there's something to point to. But then we find out that, well, no, that's not true. She just is. She's just her parents are just nobody. They're just whatever. And she just has the Force. So it's kind of like, well, then what's the reason behind all of the things that she can do? Where, like I said, or like Alex and I said, well, the reason Carina can do all the things, well, the reason that Carina even got into, astrology and horology and all that stuff is because that gem in the book, but that gem that he left Carina when she was a baby that represented the brightest star in the north, which was Carina, and that's how she got her name. And because of that, he was hoping that she would take that gem to basically make money and to be able to live on it. He was never expecting her to actually read the book. So that's the tie-in. Like, well, because it was passed down from her father, so it actually allowed her to gain all this knowledge and this and that. So there's the payoff. Here's why she can do these things. So I guess, and this is just a simple answer for me, and then I'll ask Alex. Between these two, and again, like we just established how you can kind of compare these characters. And if you don't agree, you don't agree, whatever, that's fine. But if, in this comparison right here between Carina and Rey, I'd have to say that Carina is the stronger character here. Not because of certain things, but because of things that are established, so it makes sense. Things that you can imply, like, well, she's obviously studied throughout the years, so that's how she can do this, so that gives reason to all the things that she can do. But when we look at Rey, it's the same thing we just said. We have no idea why she can do any of the things that she can do. She just can. And for me, who likes detail and all that stuff, that's simply not good enough for me. So I have to give it to Carina. What about you, Alex?
I agree, and like I said in the beginning, and like Tyler said right before we kind of got into this thing, we're not talking about the actors. Like Tyler said, I completely agree. Daisy Ridley, I think, is a really really good actress. She does great in Murder on the Orient Express. She's really great as Rey. I love her character. I love how she acts. I think she is a really good actress. So we're not talking about just the actresses here. We're talking about just the characters. But I do agree. I think Carina is a more developed and just makes more sense of a character. I think in a way, she's even a stronger character than Rey. But I think just overall, she's just a better character. She makes more sense. I think she's better written. I think everything works around her. And I just prefer her character to Rey. I do like Rey, but I think when you compare her to Carina, and it's not like we're just siding with Carina here. Tyler and I have been big fans of these two new Henry and Carina in Pirates 5 since the movie came out. As soon as the movie came out, we were both really big fans of these two brand new characters. So we're not just like bagging on Rey here. We do like Carina. So yeah, I think Carina's just a much better written character overall. Everything makes sense with her. And this is only from her one movie. She's only been in Pirates 5. Rey's had 2 movies, and I do think 8 hurts her character. I think 7, she's a stronger character just because of kind of the things they left flat in 8.
Okay, so now we're moving on to Henry and Finn. So Henry betrayed the British Navy even though he was trying to save them. They were heading towards the Devil's Triangle. He was trying to warn them, like, if we go there, we're going to die. So they saw him as a traitor, and so then I guess he was a traitor. And that leads us actually to the next thing. He has vast mythological knowledge. He knows a lot about the sea. He knows a lot about Poseidon, who obviously that's part of the sea. But he has a lot of mythological knowledge that can definitely be used in future movies, for sure. That's a great thing to give a character that you want to have in future movies. That gives a base, that gives basically like a waypoint. He knows about this, so he can go after this. It's almost like, in a way, an Indiana Jones type pirate, but like at sea. He's well-versed in history. He's clever in combat. He's also self-confident. He's also very determined. His whole thing in Dead Man Tell No Tales is he wants to save his father. He wants to relieve him of the curse that he has. And he's determined to find Jack Sparrow and, well, save his father. Alex, what do you think about Henry? What do you think about good old Henry here?
So I really do like Henry, and I think a lot of people, I think when the movie came out, it was very split on him. I think a lot of people also didn't like him, thought he was kind of just a plain character. And again, Tyler and I really liked him. I think we both like Carina more than, at least I do. I like Carina more than Henry. But Henry's a very good character. He's a younger Will, and I think he's a better Will than Will in Pirates 1. He's charming. He's funny. He does make several jokes. He is very clever. He's maybe not the greatest swordsman, but he does have a way of being clever in combat situations, like when he's rescuing Jack and Carina from getting their heads cut off. He kind of swings in and creates a distraction. So he may not be the most skilled fighter, but he definitely knows how to get himself out of a fight. And so that is definitely a major strength. Like Tyler said, very, very smart. A lot like Carina. He maybe doesn't know as much like educational things as her, like about the stars, like about time, but he does know a ton about the sea. He knows about myths and he knows about legends. So he knows about Davy Jones. He knows about mermaids and krakens and all those kind of things. And so he is very, very smart. And he's very self-confident. Like, he believes in what he believes. He knows that if he just finds Jack, they'll be able to find the Trident, and the Trident will sit. Like, he has a lot of confidence in his situation that he's in. And he's very determined. Like we said, he has a goal set, and he knows that if he gets to that goal, it's going to end up happening. And and that kind of gives him a little bit of a connection with Carina, because they both kind of have that very like headstrong nature where they very much believe in themselves, even though they kind of conflict with each other a little bit.
Okay, now we're going to look at Finn. He betrayed the First Order, so that's comparable to betraying the British Navy by Henry. Betrayed the First Order in The Force Awakens towards the beginning of the film. He didn't agree with what was going on. I like that. That was cool. Finn's skilled in combat. He has First Order inside info, that's kind of cool to have too. Almost like a double agent in a way. He can disarm every large First Order weapon. I'm not a fan of that. tried to run from a fight twice. I also don't like that. So he's a little bit... Finn, I like Finn, but there's something like... In The Last Jedi... Okay, I liked him in The Force Awakens. I'll say that. I really liked him, actually, in The Force Awakens. He's funny. It was cool to see, like, a stormtrooper who's kind of like, I can't do this anymore. I don't agree with what's going on here. And he leaves. And he's like, okay, now I'm going to help you guys, like, basically take them down because they should not be able to do what they're doing. That was cool. That was different for Star Wars. So I like that. The combat thing, he clearly, like, when he used the lightsaber, he didn't do all that great against Kylo Ren. He did pretty good, though, against some of the stormtroopers. He does a pretty good job against Captain Phasma in The Last Jedi. I kind of wish that fight was a little bit longer. I guess it was supposed to be a little bit longer than what we saw, but from what we saw, he holds his own against her, and she's obviously really skilled to be the rank that she is. So he almost might be too good in combat if you really think about it in that way. So when I said he can disarm every large first order weapon, what I mean is, so he knew how to disarm Starkiller Base. He, in The Last Jedi, spoilers, I guess, if you didn't see it yet, or if you didn't see anything online, he knows how to basically get in to disarm the tracker that's brand new for hyperspace, how they could track resistance ships, or any ship, I should say, in hyperspace. He somehow knew how to be able to disarm that. And then he also knew how to destroy the ram cannon that they used on Crate to try to get through that wall where the resistance were. And it's kind of like, how do you know how to destroy all of these technologies or weapons that the First Order has? And like the main things that they have that are like the big guns almost. Why would... And he was just a regular First Order soldier, so I just don't understand how he would have all this knowledge. I mean, it's convenient for sure story-wise, but that doesn't make for like a great character, in my opinion. In a way, it's almost like Rey, like, well, he just kind of does. Well, I don't like that for an answer. If he was Captain Phasma's right-hand man who quit, okay, or defected, oh, now it makes sense. That would make sense, but he isn't. He's not. He was like he just got done with training. In The Force Awakens, that was like his first mission. Yet you know how to disarm destroy Starkiller Base, disarm or deactivate the tracker for hyperspace, which is brand new technology, and you know how to destroy the ram cannon. How is that possible? And then, like I said, too, tried to run from a fight. He tried to run from a fight in The Force Awakens, and then in The Last Jedi, towards the beginning, when the Resistance is losing, he's like, yeah, I'm going to abandon ship because the ship's going down. I don't understand why he would do that twice. For then at the end, he's like, we can't let them win. Well, you were going to run. So it's like, what? You go through this little conflict 2 times. I just don't understand that. And again, I like Finn. I wish that they would do something better with Finn. I almost don't even want to... because I know when he was trying to run from the fight in the beginning of The Last Jedi, that his thing was, well, he was trying to go find Rey, but he was trying to leave because the ship was being destroyed, and he was also going to find Rey. So it was kind of like, it was a little bit convenient that he was going to go find Rey. That's just how I see it. To me, he was still trying to run. He knows that Rey went to Luke to get training, or hopefully she was getting trained. So he knew, like, she's pretty much fine on the island because she has Chewie and the Falcon, and she's headed towards Luke's, and she's at Luke's planet. So it's like, why did you have to rush to him? Or why did you have to rush to them? Obviously, because you're trying to run. So I'm not really into that. I don't really get why that they keep... I hope they don't do that in 9, where it's like, you're going to try to run again? I hope not. I hope he doesn't have an answer on how to destroy whatever the main weapon is that the First Order has. Because then it's like, okay, 4 times? Are you serious? and I'm not hating on Finn. I'm almost hating on the way that they're handling Finn, because I actually think he could be a cool character because of like what I said in the beginning. We've never had a stormtrooper who disagrees with what the First Order or the Empire or whoever's controlling the stormtroopers, who disagrees, leaves and is like, I'm gonna help you take them down. That's a cool concept. I just want them to kind of like do something good for his character for once. He almost did something cool in The Last Jedi, sacrificing himself, but they didn't let him have that moment. So hopefully he gets some kind of moment in Episode 9.
So yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Tyler said. I think Finn is a pretty interesting character. I do agree it doesn't make a lot of sense that he knows literally. He's there for like story exposition. Like he's there to be able to tell you what the thing does and like how you're supposed to destroy it. So he's like the history book of whatever thing they need to explain without somebody like Hux could have told you some of that stuff, but like they have Finn do it. So he really is just there for kind of like exposition. And movies need that, but you don't always need a main character to be like an exposition machine. And that's basically what they've made Finn. Like he shouldn't know how to do all this stuff. Like Tyler said, that's a extremely good idea. Like if he was Captain Phasma's right-hand person, if he was like a lieutenant or he was somebody directly underneath Hux, it would make a lot more sense. But he was just a normal. Does that mean everybody knows how to destroy Starkiller Base? What if somebody else defected? So like it doesn't make sense from a character perspective. He's just there to be able to tell you what things can do and how you're going to be able to destroy them. That's what Finn's there for. His personal struggle of not agreeing and leaving, but being unsure which side is good and bad. I do like that. I do like that a lot. 7, they did it really well. And like Tyler said, 8, they played around with him running away again. Now, that part I didn't like. What I did like in 8 was when Benicio del Toro's character was telling him that like there is no good or bad side. Like you play both hands and all those kind of like dual meanings that he was talking about. I did kind of like that because I thought that played to the episode 7 Finn. But they didn't do anything with that. And then like Tyler said, when he finally, decides like I'm going to do something for the greater good, I'm going to sacrifice myself, but we're going to destroy this cannon and the resistance is going to be fine. And then Rose just takes that away from him because Finn can't win anything. So they didn't let him have his moment there. And overall, he didn't do anything in 8. He did not a single thing in 8. He fought Phasma for around 6.5 seconds or whatever. So that's not good enough. His character wasn't good enough in 8. I thought what they have in him overall of being, a defected First Order troop and not really wanting to pick a side. That's who his character is, and I feel like they lost that big time in 8.
Okay, so for comparing these two and deciding which one is a little bit better than the other one, obviously I'd have to give it to Henry here. This one, I almost feel bad for Finn in this one. Finn has not been given enough possibility, to grow in Star Wars. He did in 7, but in 8, what they did, with the whole casino, his whole mission, all that stuff, I feel like that didn't help his character. It didn't help move his character forward, it didn't help him progress. It didn't feel right for his character to me. If he would have actually gone undercover in a way, didn't do the whole casino thing, and they're like, okay, well, we have this thing that we can do, and we're going to retrofit a mini device that we're going to basically go under the radar. We're going to go in their First Order ship, and then we're going to infiltrate from within, and then we're going to put on a stormtrooper suit. Then we're going to keep going through and infiltrating different levels, and that would have been better for Finn because it's that makes more sense. Where he's going to start at his base level and he'd know who would be okay, well, this guy, he's the higher ranking guy, so we're going to have to get, past him. Different stuff, that would have been better for Finn. Then that would have been his skill set. Not riding this alien pony at a casino. That, I just don't understand. I don't. And the funny thing is, they're not even selling toys of those things. So I don't even understand the point of it. Not that I go in the toy section that often, only sometimes at Target. But, so yeah, I do feel bad for Finn's character in this movie. Again, I think John Boyega does a really good job with Finn. I like Finn's character, I just want more from him. And I think that's why I feel bad, because I do like Finn, I just want more from him. And I know, obviously, that's not his fault. That's writing. So yeah, I gotta give it to Henry. And here's the reason why. It's not as close, I would say. Not as close. It's not as big of a thing, I guess, like a big of a gap between Carina and Rey as it is with Henry and Finn. Not that Henry and Finn are that equal either, but the thing with Henry is that because of the knowledge in history, the knowledge in mythology, that makes him such a stronger. Even though he's kind of like the main character, I agree with Alex where Karina's really the main character now, and Henry's almost like the side character for her. Having knowledge of mythology and history and all that stuff, that's a great character to have, like I said earlier, to be able to move into all these new directions or adventures, and like he has knowledge in all these things, so like he'd be like that guide, like he'd be the guide in those adventures. Where Finn, you think about Finn, and if we pretended that, because I firmly believe that the next Pirates of the Caribbean franchise will be centered around Henry and Carina. But if I know that it isn't, but if we were to pretend like that 10, 11, 12, let's say, was Rey and Finn, the First Order would be over, I assume. Finn really brings nothing to the table. He has no purpose. And that's just like being honest. Like he has no purpose. Even in 9, because he had no purpose in 8. And if he had no purpose in 8, I can't imagine what his purpose... And really, in 7, he didn't have much either. So I can't imagine what his purpose in 9 would be. So just that alone, for Henry, that makes Henry a better character, because you can do more with his character in future films, and you can go from there. Where Finn, he doesn't really have... Because they didn't do... And not that I'm saying that they have to do exactly what I say, which people think that, like, well, because you didn't get what you want, it's not even about that. I don't think my way is the best way. The thing is, Finn did nothing in 8. Literally nothing. And mostly everybody agrees with that. I mean, the guy betrayed the First Order, and then you have him infiltrate the First Order for literally 2 minutes. I thought that was going to be like his whole thing of the movie. I literally thought he was going to be in it for like 40 minutes, and that was his whole segment. Maybe 30 minutes, but still. Not 2 minutes, and it's like, oh, he gets caught right away. It's not what I was picturing. So they're not using his character well. If they did, then this would be a lot harder for me. If they used Finn's character right, I almost feel like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I would choose. I think it would be a tie. But because they... in my opinion, right now, blew Finn's character, I have to give it to Henry.
Yep, I agree. I think Finn, like I said, at his base, he is a very strong character. I think JJ had somewhat of he had a cool idea, and he had a cool concept. He's like, well, let's take a character, the bad guys under the masks, they're just normal people now. They're not clones, so they're like sign-ups. Only this, like, they're captured and taken from a young age. So, let's have one of them defect, and let's have them like not agree conceptually with what the First Order does. And that's what Finn is, and that's a really good building block. But really after that, the only other thing is like just deciding like where he fits in. And that was his whole kind of journey in 7. But in 8, they just did not a single thing with his character. I completely agree with Tyler. I thought Rose and Finn were going to be on the ship the entire time. I thought that was their entire thing. That's one of the only scenes we see in the trailer is Finn with the uniform, and we also see his fight with Phasma. So it makes you think that he's just going to do that the whole time. So they completely waste his character. He does not a single thing in The Last Jedi. And like Tyler said, I don't see a future for Finn. I don't see what he's going to bring to the table in 9 when it's going to be 2 Force users in Rey and Kylo, and it's really going to be a journey, I think, of those two, especially probably Kylo Ren. So Finn doesn't really fit in there. I feel like they introduced Finn, but they don't have anywhere to put him now, so they kind of just like put him wherever they feel like it. Whereas Henry, I think he fit in very well in Pirates. I think he has a nice relationship with Jack. He has a nice relationship with Carina. They can use his knowledge and his, like Tyler said, what he knows about lore and stuff. He can be the guy who tells us that stuff, which is exactly what Finn is, but Henry has a reason why he knows all this stuff. Again, they have a building block. We know that he knows about lore. We don't know why Finn knows how to destroy Starkiller Base from being a janitor. We don't know that. So I think Henry setting it up for the future, being the son of Will, I think he has a ton of potential to be a fantastic character. And he said he signed on for Pirates 10, up till Pirates 10. So I give it to Henry too. So let us know in the comments below what you think about this. Who do you think are better characters, Rey and Finn or Henry and Carina? Who do you think, beats each other? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Like and share the video. And like I said before, next week we're going to be having our third part, the final part of this crossover event between Pirates and Star Wars, talking about conceptually the movies, what concepts are better, and why do people actually go see these films. So we will see you next Friday at noon for that.